About 25 million people live in Southern California. In SoCal, where nothing is in walking distance, your car and the state highway system are your lifeline. According to yearly transportation studies, Los Angeles is the most congested city in the nation. Orange County, which borders LA County, has been adding to the gridlock over the decades. This once quiet county, known mostly for orange groves, Disneyland, and Angels baseball, has developed into high-density urban sprawl with 3 million residents. And when Orange County really started booming in the 80s, the state of California had to make some decisions how to ease traffic congestion in the region. In 1981, state transportation officials created 4 new state highways in OC. These were planned to provide alternative routes to one of the country's busiest freeways, Interstate 5, the connector from LA to South Orange County, where much of the residential and industrial development was taking place. These highways included state routes 241, 261, 133, and the 73. Built in the early to mid-90s, the OC toll road system today contains 51 miles of highway that the state owns and maintains. The Transportation Corridor Agencies, known as the TCA, wants to connect the 241 State Highway in South Orange County to the I-5 freeway. TCA's original plan was to build the final segment of the 241 toll road around the back of the city of San Clemente, go through the northern edge of Camp Pendleton, and then meet the I-5. And that's when the battle began. Over the years, TCA fought many lawsuits with environmental groups, most notably the Save San Onofre Coalition, which was comprised of organizations such as the NRDC, Sierra Club, Surfrider, Coastkeeper, and even the state of California. Damon Nagami is with the Natural Resources Defense Council. This environmentalist and senior attorney for the NRDC explains what the battle was all about.
We are 12 organizations that are committed to protecting San Onofre State Beach from projects like the toll road. It's been a 15-year campaign to protect San Onofre State Beach and other sensitive lands in that area from this toll road project.
Why is it so vital to protect those areas?
We're losing our wildlands and open spaces in Southern California, so we need to protect them for future generations.
And yet, with all that said, when millions of Southern California motorists are pulling their hair out when they sit in gridlock traffic for a couple of hours just to get to and from home and work, they'll say, okay, that's great, but we need transportation.
Sustainability is critical to urban areas. We have the hustle and bustle of urban life and the concrete that surrounds us in buildings in cities. We need places to be able to go to experience nature and to have fresh air, to have places to exercise, and to be able to connect with the green spaces and nature around us.
You did not want this 241 toll road project extension. You hated the TCA and everything the TCA was doing. Now you're on board with them. What happened?
For many years, the toll road agency had a terrible plan, a terrible route that would have bisected San Onofre State Beach, destroyed the campground there, threatened all kinds of endangered species and wildlife habitat. And that was just something that we couldn't stand for. And for years, the toll road agency fought us at every turn. But then we won.
Mike Cramen is the CEO of the TCA. Cramen explains how the Transportation Corridor Agencies reached that win with the environmentalists so the TCA could finally extend the 241 toll road.
This is an agreement between 15 different environmental groups, plus the California Attorney General and the Native American Heritage Commission. The basic fundamental of the agreement is our agency agreed that we would not fund or construct a road in certain areas of the county. So we defined an avoidance area, and we would avoid those areas in looking at how we solve the transportation problem.
Your critics and opponents of the 241 extension are saying it was not a settlement agreement. You bought them off to the tune of $30 million, and that's how you got the environmentalists to buy into this. What do you say to that?
We have committed to $28 million in a conservation fund, which will allow us to then identify mitigation projects in the San Mateo watershed as a preference, but also the adjacent watersheds as well. And that is totally in the control of this agency as far as what those projects are, how those funds are expended.
It was a huge win for our coalition. It was a huge win for the millions of people who use San Onofre State Beach every year.
We have sort of a natural conflict there, the need to improve transportation and keep our transportation system sustainable, at the same time protecting natural resources here and keeping that sustainable as well.
And that's where this story should end. In a perfect world, the 241 toll road extension can finally be built to connect to the I-5, a collaborative effort where environmentalists and business interests work together to make life sustainable for those who want open space and wildlife preservation, and those who want a sustainable transportation system to ease the horrors of Southern California traffic for present and future generations. Unfortunately, this is where the story gets even more complicated. Tim Brown is the mayor of San Clemente. Brown is convinced the TCA is now going to build the 241 toll road extension directly through his South Orange County city. And now Mayor Brown and San Clemente are suing the TCA to stop the extension project.
The sustainability is preserving things we have now for future generations to enjoy. And the idea of building a toll road through San Clemente's open space as a way of creating sustainability for our community is laughable.
So we have 8 ideas that we're now looking at as part of what's called a project study report. So a project study report is the project initiation phase for a state highway project. So we're just in the first phase of initiating the project now.
Let's say your final plan to build the toll road extension does have to be built through part of San Clemente or in their backyard. How do you justify it to angry San Clemente residents?
So what we're trying to do is solve a regional transportation problem here. And as to what the solution that will be, what the impacts would be to people, that's what we will identify and study through the environmental review process. We will look at noise, we will look at visual, we will look at concerns people have, impacts to their open space and things like that.
So right now, are you on the record as saying you folks are not sure that the new freeway is going to necessarily cut through San Clemente? The jury's still out.
Absolutely. There are alternatives on the table.
I think it's deeply concerning. We've created a ton of open space so we could enjoy all of the beautiful landscape that San Clemente has. We've really fought to preserve a lot of that essential charm, and I think a toll road threatens those key things that make San Clemente really unique.
And yet TCA says it hasn't made a final decision as to where the toll road is going to be built, so why are you so worried?
Yes, of course that's their official position, but they have declared very resolutely where it can't go, right, which is south of the city of San Clemente. And then they've stated a priority that it has to connect to the freeway as one of their priorities. And then they only have all of their alignments run through the city of San Clemente. And so I think it's a little bit of theater to say that, well, we haven't made any decisions, when ultimately whatever decision they has to make has to come through our town.
Do you believe they're lying to you?
We find ourselves looking at a 4-lane highway coming through the middle of our community. And I think that whatever the position is here, I think the residents of San Clemente would just appreciate some direct honesty.
Micah Riesebal is a senior transportation manager and the project manager for the IBI group. IBI is an abbreviation for infrastructure, buildings, intelligence. IBI is the company San Clemente hired to do a transportation study of the 241 toll road extension through their city.
Swath of land here is where the proposed 241 alignment would go through.
Why is that a bad thing?
We want to conserve as much open space as possible. There are sensitive environmental areas here. There are homes that we would intrude upon. So that's something that we'd have to consider with all our different options.
You and your company took part in a study to evaluate this area and the feasibility of the 241 extension. What were your findings?
So we took an unbiased look. When we say unbiased, it's because we're using a travel demand model that's commissioned by the Orange County Transportation Authority, which models year 2040 demographics, projections, employment, housing, various projects that come online. So that's where we're getting our basis for our traffic numbers. We're not manipulating the model in any way. It is what they give to us. So from that we look at, what are the volumes on a daily perspective through South Orange County and through the city of San Clemente.
And in your information gathering, what have your numbers found?
Relatively low. We're talking about 12,000 vehicles per day using this thing. Major capital improvement project, only about 12,000 vehicles using it.
In other words, Arizabal says there is basically no demand for the 241 extension due to what he says is an extremely low volume of cars expected to use the toll road for the next 20 plus years. TCA's Mike Cramen disagrees. Cramen insists the congestion is much worse than what Arizabal is claiming.
The villain here is traffic. And so we really need to keep the focus on what is the problem we're trying to solve.